Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of my opinions about classical music. If you are a new viewer, welcome. If you want to subscribe, that would make me really happy. If you're an old viewer, welcome back. I'm really happy you have chosen to come back here. Today I'm recording in a different environment from what I'm usually recording in, and this is because I'm taking a course on wind band arranging, which has been fun so far. I believe it's the 5th time I'm here. The thing about taking a course for wind band arranging though is that you need a wind band to arrange for, and in this case it's a wind band with musicians between 16 and 18 years old, and they're having fun around me, so that's why I'm so close to the microphone and also why it's probably gonna be some sound around me. But this wind band course is actually the perfect introduction to today's video, because today we are talking about the woodwinds. And I will put out a disclaimer right away. I do play the clarinet, which is of course a part of the woodwind section, so I am obviously biased, but that doesn't change the fact that we have the best instrument. I will be ranking the instrument families, not just the individual instruments, because woodwinds are known to have a billion different instruments to play on. So for instance, oboe and English horn will count as oboe, though I will mention both of them. So let's start from the bottom of the list, and there we find the oboe. And don't get me wrong, the oboe is a nice instrument. I really like the oboe as well, it's just that it's the least good among the woodwinds. The oboe has a nice sound, it has some really nice solo melodies, but when it comes to blending into the orchestra it sucks, and basically that's because it sounds like a duck, and none of the other instruments in the orchestra sounds like a duck, so that's the reason for that. The English horn, on the other hand, is also not blending well, but I like the sound of it even better than the oboe. So if I had to rank the oboe family, it would be English horn way above the oboe. So moving to the next on the list, we have the flutes. And I may be affected by the arranging course I'm currently attending when I say that the flutes have a really awkward register. It's like having a soprano choir. Of course, the flutes also have bigger instruments for playing lower notes, but they're not really that common. The best you can get is kind of an alto flute. On the other hand, you can get the piccolo flute, which is a torture instrument instead of a musical instrument. And it kind of looks like a toy, it's so small. But I'm being negative, the flutes are really nice, they can play really good melodies together. And they blend in well with the orchestra in general, making that kind of organ sound with the other woodwinds. And if you haven't heard flutes playing in the lower register, it's so nice. So of course, the alto flute is my favorite kind of flute. So let's skip over to the next instrument. It is the saxophone. As a group, the saxophone is amazing. I love the saxophone group and how it sounds together. Saxophone quartets are an amazing ensemble, and I'm so sad that saxophone was invented so late, because there would be so much great repertoire for saxophone if it wasn't. My favorite kind of saxophone is the baritone saxophone, and my second favorite kind of saxophone is the soprano saxophone. The only saxophone I don't really like is the tenor saxophone. And in my experience, saxophonists agree with that. They don't like the tenor saxophone either, at least the classical saxophonists I know. But if your favorite kind of saxophone is the tenor saxophone, let me know in the comments. Adolf Sax, who invented the saxophone, also invented another great instrument, but I will talk about that later. Moving on, we have the second best instrument in the woodwind section. It is the bassoon. I love the tree farts. I love the sound of the bassoon. In my opinion, the bassoon has the most authentic wood sound. It kind of sounds like you just took a tree and started playing on it. But I have to admit, my favorite kind of bassoon is not the regular bassoon. It's of course the contrabassoon. Have you seen that thing? It's huge! On the lowest notes, it doesn't really sound, it just vibrates and you get the feeling of the bass, not just the sound of it. I love that, when you can feel the music and not just hear it. And you don't usually get that from a lot of the acoustic instruments. I like the authenticity of the rattling keys, you know? But okay, let's move on to the best instrument in the woodwind section. It's of course the clarinet family. What else would it be? I play the clarinet. But the B-flat clarinet, which is the most common clarinet, the one you've probably seen, is not the best kind of clarinet. And if you paid attention on all the other instruments, you might be able to guess what kind of clarinet I prefer, or at least if it's higher or lower than the B-flat clarinet. If you guessed bass clarinet, you're absolutely right. The bass clarinet is the best instrument. Not just in the woodwind section, but in the orchestra. I actually purchased a bass clarinet just a few weeks ago, so I have my own bass clarinet now, and that feels great. The bass clarinet was also invented by Adolf Sax, who invented the saxophone, and by doing so he invented the best instrument in the orchestra. It doesn't have a lot of solo repertoire, but if you listen in, for instance, the symphonic dances by Rachmaninoff, you can hear a bass clarinet solo, and oh my god, I love that. So let's recap all of that, shall we? The worst woodwind instrument, it is the oboe. In fourth place we find the flutes. Moving on to third place, there we have the saxophones. Second place we have the bassoons. And finally, of course, first place with the best instrument in not just the woodwind section but also the orchestra, we have the clarinet, or more specifically the bass clarinet. So it looks like that's everything I had for today. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and also I would be really happy if you liked the video. Let me know in the comments which section you want me to talk about next. And with that, I wish you a great day and I'll see you next time.